The 2000 Yamaha R1 Project Bike is finally completed. At the end of the last video, we still didn't have working headlights or brakes. We were waiting for seals from Yamaha for the master cylinders to get the brakes up and running. But as it stands behind me, it actually has headlights and brakes. Now, as it sits here, it almost looks like a good looking Yamaha R1 that is red and white. But things weren't always this good. Just a short 3 months ago, we picked up one of the saddest looking R1s on the internet for a bargain. But it needed some work. The bike had been resprayed in an ugly non-factory blue with cracked fairings, wheels in a Luma yellow, trying hard to be like Rossi. But the thick, uneven, and not to mention cracking paint gave away the truth. While that seemed straightforward, the bike also had missing panels, a missing hooter, headlights that only worked while pressing the pass button, a rusted exhaust link pipe, years of accumulated dirt and grime, missing bolts, and just a general sloppy way of being put together. So we jumped straight in and stripped the R1 to its bare bones. Firstly, it got a good scrub to get off the grime and dirt to the point where it's almost acceptably dirty. The dirt that I expected to get off didn't budge, and the dirt that I thought was there for good left without a fight. It's never what you expect with a project bike. And so, the biggest challenge and learning curve of the project began: vinyl wrapping. Despite many companies making wrapping look effortless and like child's play, it proved to be quite challenging. I decided on a similar to stock red and white color scheme, which quickly evolved into having a red stripe down the bike, purely due to my incompetence. However, even though the stripe made it easier than wrapping in single pieces, I have since fallen in love with how retro the stripe makes the R1 look. My original plan was to paint the wheels myself, to learn how to paint. But after our miserable experience with Paint Stripper that didn't seem to enjoy playing with paint, we quickly opted for powder coating the wheels satin black to complement its new wrap. Plus, with powder coating, they got rid of the old paint all by themselves. With the bike cleaned and wrapped, we got the wheels back, applied fresh grease on the wheel bearings and shock absorber pivots. And even though the bike was a runner, we still wanted it to run like it did from the factory. So it got a well-deserved carburetor cleanout, fresh oil and filter, along with some fresh coolant. However, with the bike fired up again, we finally got to hear its sweet sounds and see the odd flame. But the dream of riding the bike quickly ground to a halt when the brake calipers got a rebuild and some fresh fluid. But once put back on the bike, they wouldn't build pressure. After weeks wasted, we discovered that the master cylinder seals had perished and that it would take a month for Yamaha to get the seals from Japan. With our impatience growing, we had similar seals cut that did the trick, and needless to say that the Yamaha seals still haven't arrived. The missing panels and hooter were easily found at a breaker, and then were wrapped and thrown onto the bike, making it look more complete than ever before. But something was still missing. So I got Yamaha decals made to make the bike look more like a Yamaha, and that did the trick, creating what I call the best tank in Africa. Finally, as expected, getting the headlights working again was not as simple as replacing the relays. Just before we decided to sell the bike without headlights, we found a corroded plug pin that could be bypassed. And then we heard someone from above say, "Let there be light." And here we are today with a completed Project R1. So this episode is purely to take a look back at what it took to get the R1 to look this respectable. And I'm not going to lie to you, this bike is by no means perfect. I did the wrapping myself, which means that it is not at a professional standard. But to me, it is a hell of a lot better than the blue paint was when we got it. When we started this project, the whole point was to have a running bike so that we knew what we were getting ourselves into, and we wanted to purely make it look better, and I think we have achieved that. It was not the biggest project, we didn't fit a turbocharger to it, but we did make it look better, and everything we set out to achieve, I think we did achieve. The only thing that I said in the beginning that I wanted to do, that I didn't end up doing, was painting the wheels myself. But the wheels still look great, and in future projects I'll learn to paint in any case. So this was a fun and simple project, and all it's done is make me want to build more motorbikes and work on more projects. And hopefully that is exactly what we can do in the future. Despite this project looking fairly simple with just fixing the aesthetics, I still learned a huge amount. I learned a hell of a lot more about the brakes and how to bleed them from dry. I learned how to wrap, and I learned more about carburetors, which are all things that I think are going to come in handy in future projects. So the funny thing about this project bike, and I'm guessing about all project bikes in general, is that it challenges you in areas you don't expect. The parts you think are going to be easy are actually difficult, and vice versa. And that is where you learned a lot without expecting to. But anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this series, and I hope there are going to be more on the channel in the future. So if you enjoyed this bike and you like the way it ended up, please hit that like button, and to see more of my builds in the future, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.